countdown, T-6. This one is focusing on voter fraud or election fraud, and I guess of all the lies and misinformation that Trump says and does, I would say this is probably the most disturbing because it undercuts confidence in the election system and the results unnecessarily. And essentially, what he does, he takes nuggets of truth and then he melts them into some massive glob of misinformation and lies, and then propagates that, and all the supporters propagate that as well. So that is certainly disturbing. And basically all the election experts, I'll just lay it out there. There's a lot of details behind this, but there's several facts here. One is that voter fraud does occur. Two, the election system and the voting system is imperfect. And three, these combined do not constitute evidence of wide-scale voter fraud. So those are the basics. I'll play some fact videos to that effect as well, and then we'll get into the details.
We take all election-related threats seriously, whether it's voter fraud, voter suppression, whether it's in person, whether it's by mail, and our role is to investigate the threat actors. Now, we have not seen historically any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election, whether it's by mail or otherwise. We have seen voter fraud at the local level from time to time.
I'll focus on some of the main things that happened. One is the 2016 claims. I'll do the background for that. That sets the stage for now. But what he talks about now is basically unregistered voters, ballots mishandling, and the ballots coming in after the deadline, and then just the integrity of mail-in ballots in general. So the first quote thing here is going to be on the 2016.
Does the president believe that millions voted illegally in this election? And what evidence do you have of widespread voter fraud in this election, if that's the case?
The president does believe that. He has stated that before. I think he stated his concerns of voter fraud and people voting illegally during the campaign. And he continues to maintain that belief based on studies and evidence that people have presented to him.
But exactly what evidence? Speaker Ryan today said there's no evidence. The National Association of Secretaries of State say that they don't agree with the president's assessment. What evidence do you have?
As I said, I think the president has believed that for a while based on studies and information he has.
If you say, for example, that there are 3 million illegal aliens who voted, and then you don't have the data to back it up, some people are going to say that's irresponsible for a president to say that. Is there any validity to that?
Many people have come out and said I'm right. You know that.
I know, but you got to have data to back that up.
Let me just tell you, when you see illegals, people that are not citizens, and they're on the registration rolls.
You as an incoming chief of staff, what do you do when he says something like millions of voters voted illegally in California when you know that that's not true?
Well, I don't know if that's not true, John. I mean, I saw there was an article in the Wall Street Journal the other day, and it had a certain percentage of people that are voting that shouldn't be voting. There are estimates all over the map on that. And here's the problem. No one really knows. I mean,
but
you
don't
think
know
millions
that
of people,
not true? You think millions of people
it's
voted
possible.
illegal? There is no evidence that it happened in millions of votes in California. I guess the question is, when you're president, can you just offer a theory that has no evidence behind it, or does he have to tighten up his standards of proof?
I think he's done a great job.
The allegations of voter fraud, which Trump has repeatedly made before taking office, surfaced again after the president repeated that claim Monday night while meeting with congressional leaders at the White House.
No, I think he won very, very handily. He's very comfortable.
So that's 2016, and he was setting the stage before the election, even then, on it being a rigged election. In case he lost, he could blame it on being rigged, but it wasn't, and there was no evidence to that effect. But after the election, even though he won the Electoral College, because he lost the popular vote and because of his ego, most likely, that's a speculation, not a fact, but most likely because of that, he took on this concept that he actually didn't lose the popular vote. And there was millions of illegal people who voted. That was based on this weird feedback loop that happens with him and either false media or conservative media. InfoWars, which is not a legitimate media outlet, in November of 2016 published said something that there was a report that 3 million illegal voters voted, and Trump basically took that, but InfoWars, when they said there was a report, there was no report. There was a tweet that said that was the report, and the person who tweeted did not stand by that or back that up or provide any information on how that was developed. So that's how this all got some legs, and then he kept repeating it. Trump established a voter fraud commission, and that went on for quite a while, but is finally disbanded in early 2018 with no evidence of any kind of wide-scale voter fraud. All right, so the next item, we're going to get into unregistered voters. Trump continually hits on those types of items.
True. Yesterday, the president tweeted, quote, "Rigged 2020 election. Millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times," end quote. Travis County Clerk Dana De Beauvoir tells KVUE ballot forgeries by foreign countries are unheard of, adding it's impossible to infiltrate the 10,000 local elections offices across America. On top of that, De Beauvoir says ballots are unique for each voter and vary from neighborhood to neighborhood, making it difficult to commit fraud. They contain specific information and barcodes with timing marks so they can be read by a scanner, and those scanners can tell if a ballot does not meet specifications. Another important note, voters only receive their unique ballots after it's verified that they are on the voter registration roll.
So that's just one of many, many examples, but he makes continual claims that there are millions of ballots being sent to illegal voters, and there is no evidence of that, and that just doesn't happen. Ballots are only sent to registered voters. That's a pretty simple equation, and he calls out California often, but there's many states, when they send out ballots, those go to registered voters, not to unregistered voters. So there's no evidence of that. The next item is on ballot handling and some of the facts that Trump latches onto very loosely and then uses that as evidence of voter fraud.
Country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
All right, so there at least he is using some examples again, misusing the information and not presenting the correct information. But there is no information, at least at the time, of things being thrown into creeks and dumped in rivers, and so that is false. In Wisconsin, there were trays of mails that were found on the side of the road, so that is a legitimate item. So there's a nice little nugget. In Pennsylvania, there was I guess some discard ballots in one county, but there's many other situations of some election imperfections that happened in Pennsylvania, which is a key state. So yes, while those there were some problems with the system, that was not something that indicated that there was a fraudulent mail-in ballot system or a balloting system or anything that was skewed towards the Democrats. So he's misusing that information to prove his point. What he thinks is his point is that a mail-in ballot system is fraudulent and is a rigged election. So that's on that. Now we get into ballots coming in after the deadline, a very basic element in the election system, but Trump again challenges it with no information and misinformation.
The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2
Democrats.
minutes is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats.
All right, so Trump will continually get into this false assertion that everything has to be counted on Election Day. That is so false, and it's either false or not, but it is so false, and he just won't talk to a normal election expert and get the true information and represent it, which is what he should do as a leader of the free world and the largest democracy in the world, or the most prominent one. So you do not have to count all ballots on Election Day, and every state has their own system, but there's just not a requirement for that all to be tallied. And really, on all previous elections, it seems like it is a requirement because usually it's far enough where they can project who the winner is, and there's enough information on who's going to win by the election night that they actually declare a winner and a winner either, and a loser might concede the race. but there's no requirement to do it, and each state varies, and they allow counting to happen after the election day. So Trump is relaying false information there yet again. So that's about it for this one. And the next, final countdown is going to be T-5. That one's going to focus on the vice presidential candidates and what they're saying, which largely mirrors the presidential ones, but it will be there. And I think I hear some music. Yep, I do.